Ancient technologies. The pyramids are an advanced navigational tool. So essentially, it's a compass, a lighthouse, and a sundial. It could also be a couple other things, even a power plant. But for now, we're just going with the compass, lighthouse, and sundial. I mean, easy for it to be a sundial because of the fact it's a big, large structure. Anytime the sun hits it, it's going to create a shadow. As you can see in the first picture, let me zoom in. You see the shadow, and you also see that it kind of has like a point here, so it's like pointing somewhere. So if you were to put this like on the face of a clock, you would get an idea that this might be, let's say hypothetically, 1 o'clock or something like that, in the afternoon. Obviously, it's daytime, so maybe in the afternoon. And it'll just keep moving until it's nighttime, and then now it's nighttime, but you will have no way of knowing what time it is at night, so you have to wait until daytime for the sun to pop up again. So at least you can keep track of the daytime. That's why it's a sundial, right? You need the sun for it. Nighttime, is more of a guesswork. But that's just a simple thing. It's big. It casts a shadow. It can be used as a sundial. It just depends where you at the time. You can see the shadow. Obviously, top view is the best way to see it, but that's going to be hard to do in ancient times. Even hard to do now, just by a regular person. There was always the idea that if it points true north. I wouldn't know that personally, if it points true north or not. But I'm going to go with the idea that it does point true north. Some people must have already figured that out, right? Probably used a compass or something, or some satellite imagery, and figured it out. So let's say it does point true north. Something I noticed, it was mentioned before, as you can see in these images, that it does look like the pyramids have 8 sides, not 4. Because there's an indentation on each side, so it makes it more like an 8-sided figure, which, if you think about it, coincides with a compass, right? North, south, east, west, and then in between would be northeast, southwest, that kind of stuff. So of course, correspond with those things. So those will be the 8 points of direction, and the pyramid physically will represent that. So here's an image of a compass. So the pyramid can be used as a compass, right? If you know which point, which means which corner is the one that represents the true north, and then you just go based off of that. That's how. So you can use the pyramid as a compass. You can use it as a sundial. That's what I'm saying. Now here's an image of the sun, reflecting on it. So you can use it as a sundial. They said they used to be a white gold triangular cap at the top, and then the rest of it was white, stone, like white limestone. So it was a nice, pretty white and gold structure. Highly possible, especially because it would be very reflective, so you can see it from different places. And again, it can be used, like I said, a sundial. It can be used as a compass, especially if you're out in the sea, out in far. If you're far away, it being tall makes it easier to see from far distance, and then of course it being able to be bright and shiny, so you can see it and use it like I said, a navigational. So it's definitely a landmark, right? It inherently is going to be like, hey, I know that's Egypt because there's a big pyramid. I know where that's at. I'm gonna head over there and then work my way from there to find where I'm trying to go. Like I said, inherently it's going to be a navigational landmark. If it's not designed to be anything else, right, or if it's not designed to be specifically for navigation, inherently, just because it's a big giant object and it's recognizable, it's already a navigational landmark. Just like the Statue of Liberty, right? I doubt it was put up so people know, hey, I see the statue over there while we're in the ocean. That must be New York. I doubt that's what people were put it there for. But it is there, so you can't use it for that type of thing. We know lighthouses, which is why I said the pyramid is a lighthouse, right? Is used for deliberately, like, hey, if you're at sea and you see me, aka the lighthouse, come over here because there's land here because I'm built on land. So the pyramid, of course, built on land, right, on the Giza plateau, and it's big. During the daytime, like I said, with the gold cap, if it was a gold cap, I think it could have been a different material for nighttime and daytime use. So you see right here, I have this image of a crystal, clear, transparent crystal triangle pyramid, right? And imagine if that was on top. And the idea is that, well, it being crystalline, right? It'll reflect the light of the sun, so it'll shine, and you'll be able to see it from far distance. So it'll be useful during the daytime, especially if you're on water during the daytime or traveling in the desert during the daytime. You'll see the shiny tip, the shiny top of the pyramid. But the other thing is, if it's nighttime where there is no sun, how are you going to see it if you're out in the ocean, right? And that's where the lighthouse idea comes from, right? It's like, well, it'd be easier to see it if the tip, right, the top, the pyramid on top, right, wasn't a gold cap stone, right? And instead was the crystal one, and it's able to emit light. And how, well, they didn't have electricity and they couldn't, create light because they didn't have electricity, right? Well, you can use fire. So then a little bit of information I've seen not so long ago, or heard about, I should say, the idea that on the top, oops, let's see if I can zoom in more. It's very pixelated. There's a better version of this you can find online, where supposedly on the top there's a hole. There's a hole on the top of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid. And it's like, there's a possibility that hole goes all the way down the center. And it might lead, double checking, yeah, it does kind of look at it, because here's the King's Chamber right here. And then it kind of is almost directly straight up above the top. So if there was a hole going all the way down to the King's Chamber, right? So the idea for me is that if it did have a crystal pyramid, like a quartz crystal pyramid on top, well, what happened is during the day, it'll shine during the daytime, obviously, so you can see it because it's shiny, but it will also have the effect of being able to redirect the sunlight down that shaft. That's the idea, right? So it'll work like a prism and it'll redirect the light down the shaft, right? Down the hole is what I'm saying, from the top all the way down to the King's Chamber. And in the King's Chamber, according to Christopher Dunn, if you want to go with what he says, it will create, there will be hydrogen in there. And the reason there'll be hydrogen is because there's mixtures of chemicals that combine together, which will create hydrogen, and you can, light up hydrogen, and it doesn't create soot, right? So that's useful. If you need fire that doesn't create smoke, hydrogen is a good fuel for that. There's a couple other ones, but hydrogen is definitely one of them. So that would be very useful for creating a fire-based lighthouse as opposed to an electrical-based lighthouse. So a gas-powered lighthouse. So this is it.
This vessel represents the Queen's Chamber. Into the tubes we're going to pour hydrated zinc and then hydrochloric acid. When you bring these two liquids together, and a chemical reaction occurs, and a product of that chemical reaction is hydrogen. And you can see the vapor, the hydrogen, escaping through the chimney, and there you have the reaction.
Chimney. Notice he said chimney. So like I was saying, if there is a hole down here at the top of the pyramid, deck does lead all the way down here to the king's chamber, that'd be cool. There was a thing that they mentioned about the king's chamber. There's a void, an empty space above the grand gallery. Right? It'd be interesting to find out that void is for the purpose of storing the gas. Right, so the Queen's Chamber does the whole chemical thing, right? It brings it up the Grand Gallery into the King's Chamber. King's Chamber does what it does. Then it goes up this shaft right here, and it goes into the void, which will probably be right up here. And then it's being held, and that's where the gas is being stored. So that way, when it's going to be used for the lighthouse concept, then it'll get released through the hole that comes down, and then it gets lit, probably lit by the sunlight, and then now you have a fire, right? And the fire, will go high enough that it will emit light out the top, and on the top, like I said, will be the crystal. And the crystal, crystal cap, and it will act like a light bulb, right? It'll reflect, it'll illuminate, it'll spread the light, the light coming from the fire, in different, all cardinal directions, they say, right? All the different directions, and that way you can see what's going on. This is why the pyramid ain't doing much of anything right now, if we, think of it as a form of technology. This is because we ain't, producing gas in there, and we're not lighting it up, and we definitely don't have the little crystal pyramid on the top. I mean, no surprise that it's missing. If it's crystal, I mean, what if it was made of diamond? I'm just saying it was a transparent thing, pyramid. So what if it was something else? I mean, a gold capstone, I don't know if that would be useful. During the daytime it'd be useful, but at nighttime, as a lighthouse thing, I think a crystal version on top would make more sense, especially if we're going to use it like a lighthouse. We need something that can like a prism, right, can redirect a light, bend the light, as it were. And that's that thing, you want to bend the light coming from the fire source and direct it in different directions so you can create light. Not only would this be like a lighthouse, this also would just be light at night, right? More light at night, so people can do things at night and be able to function and move around without having to always, only do things during the daytime. They could work at night because there is literally a light source which comes from the Great Pyramid, right? As an example. And that's another video.